Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Daniel here. In this video, I'm going to be kind of walking through how I build my overseas teams, specifically for cold calling within real estate. So I'll be giving just a quick kind of top-down view on kind of the hiring and screening funnel, how I'm doing our initial screening of the talent. Once obviously that team is then selected, what does our training protocol look like to get them from having virtually zero knowledge all the way to being a killer who's ready to hit the phones? And then also some quick tips on just like overall quality management of your team as you are kind of managing this massive team that you have built here. So really quick, this specific case was when I was doing the kind of 0 to 100K per month challenge here. And what I did was I built a team of about 10 cold callers and really documented that over on Twitter of showing how I built that from 0 to doing 100 grand by month. I think it was 2 or 3. So at the end of the day, everything is just a volume game, right? It's like with anything. If you make enough offers, if you talk to enough people, it's the same exact thing with overseas talent. So at the top of funnel, I wanted to get in as many people as humanly possible. So you want to be getting a massive pool of applicants, a massive pool of candidates who are applying for your role. So for this specific case, the initial screening, I went and brought in about 337 people who applied. And after that, we did our first round of screening. And for the people that were at that top, the 337, what we did with them is they actually submitted a video interview where we asked them about 4 questions. And from there, after I screened those 337, I was then down to 33 people. And this is kind of where I actually am getting on a call with these individuals, right? I had one of my HR people actually get on, interview them, understand their experience. And from there, that list went down from 33 to 27. And this was the final interview. We went on with these 27 people. We did a group interview. We were doing role playing. We were doing objection handling. I was throwing them tough questions at them. And from there, we ended up getting our finalized list of about 12 people. So like I said, we have this massive pool of people. We do our round 1 of screening here. And here are some of those red flags that I am looking at. Firstly, bad accent. This is not something that is trainable. If they have a terrible accent, just move on to the next person. You are wasting your time. Just go to the next applicant. And same exact thing here with poor English, right? This is a harder thing to train on. Though it is possible, it's not impossible to solve this problem. But the challenge with this is I would just rather somebody who has that baseline. I don't want to take people from a 0 to 1. I want to take them from a 1 to a 10. Another thing is job hopping. I invest very heavily into my people, into their training, into their development. The last thing I want is somebody who's going to jump from the next job to the next job. So look at their resume and make sure that they are not job hoppers. Uncoachable. The last thing that I want, and this kind of goes hand in hand with overqualified, I do not want to bring in people who think they already know everything, who think they know best, who think that they don't need my training and my development. I want somebody that I can mold into what I deem as the perfect cold caller. So I do not want people who are uncoachable. I do not want people who will push back. And consequently, people who are overqualified, that's typically kind of their traits, right? They think they already know everything. They think because they've been cold callers for 5 years that they're the experts. But no, they do not. I am the expert. So I do not want people who are overqualified or uncoachable. And then also another thing that I can't really fix is poor internet speed and a low mic quality. Again, these are things that you want to be doing during your initial testing. And after this round 2 screening, I went and actually had those next rounds of interviews. And I had my team, right? We ended up with about either 10 or 12 callers and then one person who was managing that team. And once someone joins, we put them through this process. I have it written out as a day 0 all the way to kind of like day 7. But in reality, I made this more of like a 2-week training. But at scale, if you want to make this a 7-day training, here is what it looked like. So when someone joins, we went and put them through these video modules that I already built. And what these video modules went over was the introduction to real estate plus the key terms that they'll be using over the phone. Just real estate overview and investing 101, understanding leads, and obviously what is their purpose? Why are they a part of this team? Why cold calling matters, what the importance is, and why we're doing it, right? At the end of the day, I'm not trying to create robots here. I do not want mindless people who are just reading a script. I want people who are bought into the vision, who love what they're doing and are excited about it and know that what they are doing is extremely important. So that's why I talk about why is cold calling so important, why it matters so much. And then more tactical, like the art of cold calling, certain sales techniques, and then also cold calling best practices, as well as common mistakes that we see. objections and rebuttals, and then we'll do like kind of like a script walkthrough and role expectations, and then more advanced topics. And again, this is kind of like asynchronous. They go through these video modules. I track to make sure they actually watch these things. That was an easy sniff test. I noticed that of those 12, 2 of them didn't actually end up watching these, but they said they did. So those guys were cut. After that, they are completing a quiz. So after each module, they have to then get tested on it. I was watching a podcast with Andrew Huberman where they were doing an experiment and they had 2 different groups. One of the groups, they read through a passage 7 times. The other group read through the passage 1 time and then got quizzed on it. And a week later, they went back to those 2 different groups and wanted to then ask them questions to see if they were able to recall what they learned. And the group that just read it 7 times, they read the passage 7 times, they retained less than the people who read it once and got tested on it. So what I do for each of these modules is I then associate with like a quiz or a written assignment, end up giving them something where they have to apply the knowledge that they learned in those video modules. This will really test to make sure that they actually learn the content that we went and trained them on. And again, make sure that with whatever you're doing if you're doing like asynchronous video modules, make sure that you have a system to track if they're doing these and also tracking their score. So this is all done before the first day of training because again, I want to get them from like a 0 or call it a 1 all the way to a 3. And then during the training, we get them to level up from there. So after that, we now have this kind of 5-day training sequence. So day 1 is just like introductions and expectations. So this is where we kind of lay out the roadmap. We explain the program structure, set really clear expectations. The goal here is to get everyone aligned and motivated for this week because this week is going to be very challenging for them, right? This is 8 hours of training every single day until they are ready to launch. It is very rigorous. It is very challenging. Again, this is the most important part of building any campaign. It is a foundational knowledge of your callers, of your team. So do not underestimate the importance of this. A lot of people will just go and get individuals who have cold calling experience, throw them on the dialer and hope for the best. No, we put them through a rigorous training process. Day 2 is a cold calling breakdown. So this is about understanding the anatomy of a successful cold call. So I'm diving into like the strategies, tone, pacing, timing. The sessions also like including live breakdowns of recorded calls that we have, where we actually run through some good calls and some bad calls. And a very important part of this training is you don't want to just be sitting in a Zoom call where you're just spewing the whole time. You want them to be engaged. I always ask them questions. I always encourage people to jump in. And for example, let's say I say, hey, if I got this objection, like, was it a good way to handle it? And I'll call somebody out or I'll ask them a question. Again, you want this to be engaging. You do not want to feel like it's a classroom setting where they're just mindlessly listening to you talk here. And then day 3 is actually like more of the script breakdown, the script practicing and breakdown. So we're focusing on actually mastering the script and framework that we follow. So I go through each script line by line, going over like the variations and just making sure they understand the why behind everything. Eventually, as they get going in cold calling, we don't have them just read a script. We give them a framework to follow. So I want to make sure they understand the why behind what they're doing. It's not like what you say, it's how you say it. And with that, they need to actually really understand what they're talking about. I want them to be able to have an actual conversation with these people. So it's very important that I break down each line and why we care about these things. And as we're going through it, we kind of give them feedback and are just refining their overall delivery. Sorry for the hiccup there. And then day 4, again, is more scripting as well, and then also like a tech intro. So covering the tools and softwares they'll be using, so the CRMs, the dialers, everything. Kind of showing them every single tech thing that they are going to be interacting with. And then also we are doing, that's only like maybe an hour of it, and then the next 7 hours is more role playing, more scripting. And day 5, again, is we are doing very, very intense like live conversations where sometimes we'll have them hop on the dialer in front of everybody, or I'm just having a one-on-one call with them, grilling them on their script and their process. And also, so the main thing with day 3 through 5 is actually like the conversational wise, right? Learning it, the reading is great, the quizzes are great, but actually putting it to action is the most important part. And then the last thing before they complete training is a final exam. So I'm giving them a very, very comprehensive written and oral exam where they are answering questions, they're doing fill in the blanks, multiple choice, all that fun stuff. And then also one last where it's a live interaction with them and we're asking them questions, we're asking them how they handle certain situations. And after that, their training is complete, and now they are ready to go and hit the dialer. But that is only half the battle. right? We have front-end training and then we have ongoing training. I could have a whole other video diving into the system and how we build like some automated systems to actually go and do this tracking that we have here. But in short, once they do get started with cold calling, you want to put them through a scoring system where you're scoring them on like sales/communications and scripting. So for like sales and communication, are they asking probing and clarifying questions? How is their tonality? Are they actively listening? Objection handling, responsiveness, rapport building, confidence? And then for actual like scripting topics, like points that we want them to hit on the call, are they open to selling? What is their motivation, condition, timeline, owner status, price, call confirmation? And then we kind of put it through the scoring system for each of these callers. So again, do not underestimate how important the ongoing training is, but I hope this was kind of a good overview of how we are screening. Again, top of funnel, we get as many people as possible. Actually, as we dive into it, we ended up choosing about 12 people here. But you want to be looking at as many candidates as possible. You want to make sure that you are choosing the best. Make sure that you're looking through these red flags once they get started. Make sure you are putting them through this rigorous training process. And once they have completed the training and you deem them as fucking savages ready to get rolling, then it's time for the ongoing training and the ongoing management and the ongoing quality control. Hope this was helpful. Hope you got some value out of it. If you guys want this diagram yourself, drop a comment below. I can also shoot over our script. I can shoot over some more details on the kind of quality management. So if you made it to the end of this video, just drop a comment saying, Daniel, send me that shit, and then I'll probably DM you and send you this stuff. So hope this is helpful.